Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the Holiday Gardening Program. During the program, please use the comment section to ask questions or just simply leave a comment and it will enter you into a drawing for a really big poinsettia plant that I have right here. Look how pretty. So we will do the drawing for that at the end of this program live, so stay tuned to see if you win it. Annette is with us today. She is the UK Extension Agent for Horticulture Education in Davis County. She helps us to train local master gardeners in our area who are in turn responsible for the seed library here at DCPL. The seed library is currently open to where you can take 5 packets of seeds monthly free of charge. Thank you for joining us today, Annette.
I'm glad to be here and share a lot of information about our holiday plants.
Awesome. I'll let you get to it.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone joining us. I'm glad to share with you the joy of our holiday plants. With our holiday plants that we'll talk about today, we're going to talk about the Amaryllis. It is one of those plants that the first time you see it, you will really know that it's such a beautiful plant. I remember my first plant that I saw, that was my grandmother's. And it was such a big plant, those huge 4 to 6 to 8 inch blooms. And as a little girl looking up from down below up onto the table, it was such a huge plant. And it's one of those plants that bring back lots of memories. It's in the Hippeastrum, Amaryllidaceae family, the genus Hippeastrum. It's native to Mexico and South America. Then in the 1700s, the Dutch bulb growers then experimented with the bulb. Today we have many different cultivars, whether they're hybrids or they're even just the straight species. They belong in zone 7 to 10 is where they grow, so that means it's not a plant that we can grow here in the winter outside. It's definitely an indoor plant for us during this time of year when we enjoy it. Flower colors could be red, white, pink and white, or red and white. And there are many other colors as well, but those are some of the very common colors that you will see. For their care, they like to be pot bound. So when you plant them, it's okay if the pot only allows about an inch of room between the bulb and the edge of the pot. Remember, they bloom in about 4 to 12 weeks. It all depends upon which cultivar that you have. So if you get it now, it may bloom in time for Christmas, or it may be just after Christmas. They definitely need a well-drained potting soil, and water them when the soil is dry to the touch, except when they are in bloom. When they are in bloom, they need more water. This is a unique bulb where we leave about 1/4 to 1/2 of the bulb exposed. For their care, they need bright and direct light. So as they begin to grow, you'll need to turn the pot. If you don't turn the pot, they start leaning towards the light and it could fall over, could break it off, or make the pot lay on the windowsill instead of being straight up. You may need to stake it. I have seen dowel rods being used. Many other items can be used. I've even seen something fancy like a glass rod. Don't forget to rotate them, though, or they definitely will lean one way or another. For their maintenance, you will cut off the flower stalk after it's finished blooming. The leaves need the energy so that it can strengthen the bulb for the next flowering season. And it needs to be fertilized about every 2 weeks with a regular houseplant fertilizer. Then definitely provide as much light as possible while it's still too cold to put it outside. After the threat of frost, move it into a bright area. You want to kind of acclimate the plant, little by little so that it's not going to get sunburned. So if you have some shade, a deep shade, put it there, and then start moving it out into a little brighter shade. At the end of the summer, you want to start with holding the water. And then that's to get it to go dormant. You can bring it back indoors after night temperature drops to 50 degrees. So if you're kind of like me, I forget a little bit about them. And then as the weather goes below 50, that's when it's dangerous for those bulbs. They sustain chilling injury, which may then cause them not to bloom correctly. You can bring them in and stop the water sooner, but definitely by the time the temperature reaches 50 degrees. As that foliage yellows when you stop watering it and then it dies, then remove that foliage and put the bulb itself with a container in possibly a basement or a closet and have it rest for about 2 months. The best resting temperature is between 45 and 60 degrees if you have that location. Sometimes that's not available, so just in a dark area and as cool as possible, up to about 45 degrees or down to about 45 degrees, no lower. Then bring the bulb back out, repot it if necessary. Sometimes they also, to divide them, they actually put another little bulb on the side of it. And that little bulb, then you can take and repot it. It will take about 2 or 3 years before it's large enough to be able to bloom again. But it's fun then to be able to have another bulb, that you'll have something to look forward to. So you'll begin to water the bulb and then start the process again. In purchasing the bulb, you can get it, buy a bulb itself as a kit, which would include the media and the container. Then you might also get it separately as a decorative wax bulb. This is shown in the photograph. This is disposable if you want. What they do is they do cut all the roots off. At the end of it blooming, then you could take all of the wax off and plant it. Sometimes they will grow, sometimes they won't. It's a nice novel idea though, so you don't have to worry about the water getting all over the place where you have it sitting. So I like that. That's just something new in the area of the Amaryllis bulbs. And sometimes blooming plants are available as well. The key though is to enjoy them. And if you only have the leaves come out, then again, strengthen the bulb and try again to get it to bloom. The key is usually it puts the bloom up at the same time as the leaves or just before the leaves, and then you know it will bloom. Our next holiday plant are the cacti, the holiday cacti, Thanksgiving, or the Christmas cactus. Those two are different, but it's a very subtle difference to tell. And you would have to look at each of the little leaflets looking like little pads. That's where the difference is. But to me, it doesn't matter which one I have. I just like to enjoy either one of them. The Thanksgiving may bloom just a little bit earlier. It's native to jungles of Brazil where it grows up in tree branches. And in those tree branches, it just sits there as an epiphyte. You can see that it grows in zone 10 to 12, so it's definitely a tropical plant. Would not tolerate our freezing temperatures. Colors, you'll see a wide variety. White to golden yellow, pink, rose, coral, red, and possibly even purple. You can see the really pretty flower, almost looks like a bird spreading its wings over the pot coming out from the plant. And again, this is one of those plants that remind you of possibly your relatives. My aunt had a beautiful plant that she had in her room. I also have plants from my grandfather and from a major professor that I appreciated greatly. So they need that peat-based potting soil because it's an epiphyte up in the plant material. So it has to be well drained. Bright and direct light is important. and it prefers a day temperature below 75 degrees. Water when the soil is dry to the touch, and sometimes let it go maybe another day beyond that to make sure it's not too wet so we don't rot the roots. I had purchased one time, and it was just so beautiful. I was really expecting all the blooms to be opening soon. But then I came back in my room, and all the buds had fallen off. Well, they don't like sudden changes in temperatures. And this could have happened when it was transported from the nursery in the truck to the store. Then overwatering is another problem. And if the room temperature for some reason is above 75 degrees. To propagate them, as you can see in this photograph a little bit easier, each little piece at the base of the flower bud, you can take that and twist it off and lay it out for a couple of days, and then put it in potting soil and watch it begin to root. They're not too difficult to get to root, so you can do several of those to make more plant and then to later have something to share. To be able to get it to rebloom, one way that you can do it is then continue to care for your plant. And you might, again, make sure, because during the winter time, they're not growing as much. They don't need quite as much water. Fertilize it each month with a complete houseplant fertilizer. And then in June, you can take it outside. It does need to receive 6 hours of sunlight, but I would do that in very bright shade again to make sure that you don't shock it and burn it. A while before it really needs to be repotted. To get it to rebloom, then it blooms in the short days or in cool temperature. So here's 2 ways. It goes it to 9 hours of light, 15 hours of darkness, starting in September. And you can achieve this by putting it in a closet or putting a box over it. But it needs to be consistent as to what time you start it in the dark and what time you take it out. A plant method that I like is to leave it outside in September and bring it indoors in October. So we let the temperatures help it to become ready to bloom. During this process, you continue to water and fertilize it. So remember, September 1st, reduce more frequency of water, and you reduce the frequency of fertilizing. You can leave the plant outdoors from September 1 until about October 15th. When you bring it in, then it'll start its initiation of the flower buds, or it may have already started. If you're not able to do any of these, then the flower buds may be produced sporadically. I have a few here at my office, and I just leave them in the windowsill, and they do flower sporadically, and they're in bloom right now. So in November and December, we get to enjoy those beautiful flowers. Our next holiday plant that we're going to talk about is the Norfolk Island pine. And it is not a pine at all. It is actually from Norfolk Islands in the South Pacific. So again, it's a subtropical plant, so it's not going to tolerate our freezing temperatures. In its area where it's native to, it can grow up to about 150 to 200 feet in height. So that's why over time we run out of room to grow this plant. But it's such a great plant to use at Christmas time if you have a small apartment or you don't want to have to get a Christmas tree out. It's great to have this as a decoration. It prefers high humidity because think about it, it's from an island area. Bright window is important. Needs well-drained soil, and again, let this one dry out. Keep the decorations light and the lights small so that you don't break the branches. In a maintenance, so after you've enjoyed it for Christmas time, repotted as needed. High humidity is necessary, that bright window. Water well and let it dry out, and it will tolerate about a 45 to 85 degree range. So it can be put outside, but you can also leave it indoors too. So you can see there's such a small pot when they come from the store. So definitely moving it up helps to keep it watered. If you find yourself watering it quite often, then you might need to be repotted. Don't let it sit in the water after watering them, and even the Christmas cactus, holiday cacti, then you want to make sure that you dump out the water from the collection pot or dish underneath or in the pretty pot cover that it's in. Don't let those sit in the water or they will rot. A plant that's one of my mother's favorite that I'm about ready to go search for safely is a poinsettia. And due to our COVID time, this is when it makes it a little more challenging to find the plants. But working with individuals, we all have to remember to do this safely. It was brought to the United States by Joel Robert Poinsett in 1825. He was the first U.S. ambassador to Mexico. At that time, he saw the individuals in Mexico using these poinsettias in nativity processions. It's also been reported that the Aztecs used it for medicinal purposes and as a dye. It's, again, a tropical plant in zone 9 to 11. So these are plants that we are forcing to be in bloom at this particular time. When we talk about the flower, the really pretty colorful part are actually modified leaves. The flower is actually in the very center. When you purchase these, you want the very center flowers where you can see the parts of the flower sticking out, the stamens and the pistil. You want to make sure that those have not opened. If you can get those tightly closed, your plant will last longer. Those pretty colorful bracts come in red, white, pink, punch. Look at that cream and rose. Look at the red, pink, and fleck. Sometimes they're called jingle bells. Sometimes it's a marble is in the name. There is yellow. I have seen it used at the Vatican during Easter time, and there's even purple. So many different colorful bracts that we have available to us. I want to make a note that the poinsettia is not poisonous. It was reported many years back that they thought it was, but after all of the scientific research, they found that it is not poisonous. It is considered a non-edible though. Keep it out of the reach of children and pets. And I do want to make a note that it does, when you break a bract or a leaf, it will produce this latex-like material. And individuals who are allergic to latex possibly could be allergic then to the poinsettia. So this is definitely a plant that you want to ask someone who you're giving to if they have a latex allergy. It doesn't always happen, but I just want to let you know that that has been reported. For the care, once you have your poinsettia, like the particular one that's being given away, it needs bright, sunny location for about an hour or more, of direct sunlight if possible. Provide adequate water, and remember to pour off that excess water. Fertilize about once a month with an all-purpose houseplant fertilizer. Keep it above 50 degrees. So if you have an area in your home that stays cooler or it's close to a porch, you want to keep an eye on it and you don't want to let it get too cold. So after we've enjoyed it, it's been in your home, coming up to about March 17th, if you want to be able to get it to rebloom, then you want to pinch it about 3 to 6 inches. So you're going to remove those colorful bracts if any of them are left. Then on May 10th, trim off 2 to 6 inches of branch to promote side branching, because we want to have several different of the flowers to have in our plant to be really full. Repot to a larger container, because over time it doesn't hold enough water and it's hard to keep it looking nice. Move the plant outside gradually to a location with at least 6 hours of direct sunlight, but remember to move it gradually, not take it out of the house and into full sun. You may also need it in a really bright area, will work just as well. So during that time, when it's outdoors after the threat of frost, fertilize it about every 2 weeks with a regular houseplant fertilizer. On July 4th, trim the plant back again And then you are watering it and fertilizing it, of course. And then early September, you're pruning it from 18 to 20 inches tall because it will still grow another 6 inches after you pinch it. You can also take a look at your plant, and if you like how full it is, the bracts will just be smaller if that's what you prefer. For after doing that and maintaining the plant, you're bringing it inside then. Before, of course, it starts to get too cold. It needs 6 hours of direct sunlight. So on September 21st, so you want to bring it in the house by then, give it the 14 hours uninterrupted darkness to 10 hours of bright light. Now this may vary just a little bit depending on your cultivar and with what we have today of our different hybrids. But giving it that uninterrupted darkness is important. And again, do it at a particular time of day. If it has light interruption in between, those bracts may not turn the pretty color. Then in October 31, keep the plant in a sunny area and reduce the fertilizer. Then to enjoy your plant and watch those bracts change into pretty vivid color. And always enjoy your poinsettia. There are many poinsettias available locally. So if you're not interested in getting it to rebloom, or like me, I'm interested in getting it to rebloom until I get busy in March with other gardening tasks, and then I just let it go and start looking for one now. For all of these holiday plants, keep them away from heat sources. That will help the flowers to last longer. On the Amaryllis, you'll have possibly 3 to 4 flowers per stalk. And with a cooler area, those flowers will last longer. Those bulbs sometimes could give you 2 flower stalks, so that's a bonus. Keep them all away from cold drafts. And flowers will last longer if temperatures are cooler for all of these particular plants. I wanted to share with you the history of poinsettia by Dr. Jim Faust from Clemson University. If you're not able to copy down this YouTube URL, you could actually just Google Jim Faust at Clemson University and you'll find the history of poinsettia. What you'll see that he has at Clemson in the greenhouse are actually the wild species of poinsettia that you really wouldn't recognize compared to what we have today. So the history is pretty fascinating in seeing what our breeders and selectors have been working with so that we can enjoy them today. The industry is about $170 million, and it's the #1 pot crop in the nation, meaning it's a crop that's produced in that pot. So please enjoy these holiday plants that are available, and many are available on my catalogs, especially the Amaryllis at this time of year. Are there any questions?
Hi, Annette. We did have one question. Someone asked if you could email the whole presentation to me, and maybe I could forward it to them. I guess they want to check some specifics on these plants.
Sure. I'm glad to do that.
Okay, great. So if you want to leave your email address in the comments on Facebook, I will happily forward this presentation to that email address once I receive it from Annette. So we'll just share the information.
I wanted to put in a little commercial for the next gardening event coming up this year, 10th, is the secrets, and it's blocking mine. I'll be right back. Here, there it is. It's the secrets in the code. And this is going to be talking about when we have catalogs or online, we see information about disease resistance and maturity and what are all these numbers and letters. So I'm going to help to decode this information for us so we can be better gardeners.
All right. Thank you so much, Annette. That was a lot of specific information. These plants, even though they're beautiful, they take some care.
They do take some care, but again, if it's something that is a little more care than you want, then you can go ahead and just either share the plant with somebody else, or you can also decide to, just dispose of it and start over this coming year.
Yeah, well, thank you again. I did want to announce the winner of our pretty poinsettia plant. That is Gray Greer. So, Gray, if you'll come to the second floor information desk, I'll have the plant waiting for you there. You can take it home and get in the Christmas spirit.
Enjoy your plant.
Yeah, well, thank you again, Annette, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye bye.
Bye.